Hi, good afternoon. Thanks again for joining us. My name is Shinia Lambert. I'm an attorney with Jackson, Todd and Lambert PLLC, and today we're going to go back to basics. We're going to be talking about 10 steps that you need to take in order to successfully form a limited liability company. Now, I have to give a disclaimer. While I know this to be extremely valuable legal information, it is not legal advice. If you are interested in obtaining legal advice that is relevant and pertinent to the facts of your situation, we highly recommend that you consult with a business law attorney. If you are located here in Texas and you're interested in consulting with us, our information will be down in the description box below. So let's get started. The first step to successfully forming a limited liability company is more of a practical business tip than a requirement, but we believe that it's essential. First thing you're going to want to do is draft an agreement of the minds, an agreement between the members. This is where you and your co-owners or co-members are going to come together and really have a brainstorming session about what you want this business to look like. What are your rights and obligations and duties going to be? How will this business be run? What is its overall purpose? And what are you seeking to accomplish? This is a practical tip because, as you see in our next step, if you've already hashed out what it is you want this to look like, forming your company agreement and having that drafted is going to be so much easier. But just think about if you didn't do it this way. Consider the fact that you have consulted with an attorney, come up with a business name, file the appropriate documents, receive your certificate of filing, it's been approved, and realize you and your partners have completely different ideas on how this business ought to be run. Think of the time and energy and money wasted. We can combat that by having a meeting of the minds and drafting an agreement between the parties initially. Memorialize your agreements in writing, and you will find this process to be so much easier. Step number two is you're going to get an operating or company agreement drafted. Many of the terms of that agreement will have already been addressed and acknowledged in your agreement between the members, and so you'll already be on your way. A company agreement is almost like a contract between the members or owners of the company and the company itself. It lays out again the rights, duties, and obligations of the members, voting rights and requirements, the percentage of ownership, which, by the way, does not have to be equal. It does not have to be 50-50. It also is going to lay out ultimately what would happen in the event that the company terminates or dissolves, and how is all of that going to wind up. A company agreement is extremely important for a limited liability company. It's one of the elements that helps to afford the members protection from personal liability in the event that the company were to be sued. Without a company agreement, the courts view your business as a sole proprietorship, meaning that you don't have the liability protection, which is the whole purpose of forming a limited liability company. A company agreement is also normally a critical element in getting a business bank account opened, and so you want to make sure that you have one that is drafted and ready to go. So step number three is now going to be to assign a registered agent. A registered agent is an individual or a organization that has agreed to accept legal service on your company's behalf in the event that it's party to a lawsuit and or being sued. This registered agent has to be located at a physical address. A PO box or some type of virtual box is not going to be sufficient. It must be a physical person located at a physical address that is willing and able to accept service on your behalf. Step number four is where things start getting a little more exciting and it starts to feel real. A certificate of formation will be filed with the Secretary of State in your respective state in order to apply for your business to be formed and recognized. Now, a certificate of formation is going to include the proposed business name, who your registered agent is. It'll also detail the members or owners of the business and their addresses, your business address, and the purpose for which this business is being formed. The certificate of formation will then be filed with the state along with the appropriate filing fees, and then you get to wait to see if your filing is approved. Now, the next and last step in this first part of the series is step number 5, which is you then receive your certificate of filing from the state. This is such a happy day for those who are forming businesses, especially for the first time. Your certificate of filing from the state is going to acknowledge to the world that they have not only received your application or your certificate of formation, but it has been approved and found to apply with all of the business law provisions of your state. Now, that will also have your official formation date on there, which you may need to use to reference in other business accounting principles and practices. So, last but not least, I want to give you this extra little tidbit when it comes to forming your limited liability company. There's so much information out there and so many services that are offered that tell you that they will assist you. And I believe that they will. And there's also a lot of information that you can do this on your own. And I believe that's also possible. But when you are getting these free forms from the Secretary of State's website, I want you to understand some of the limitations that come with that. They often come with very detailed instructions that tell you how to fill the form out. However, the Secretary of State's obligations and duties to you are very limited. If you fill out the form correctly and file with it the appropriate filing fees, they're going to review and accept it and receive your payment. A Secretary of State is not going to review your application to determine if this is the right entity or business structure for you. They're not going to review prior filings and tell you if this is the next appropriate step to accomplish what it is you truly want to do. And they're not going to tell you again whether these are the right forms that you ought to be filing. That's not their job. That's a business law attorney's job. And so while I absolutely believe that most of us are competent and confident enough to file these forms on our own, I also implore you to consider consulting with a business law attorney. Consulting with them does not mean that you have to retain them to represent you, but it does mean at least you can go forward confidently, knowing that you're doing things decently and in order. And again, it'll save you so much time, energy, and money. So we've covered the first 5 steps to forming an LLC. You want to make sure that you have a meeting of the minds. You draft a company agreement, you assign a proper registered agent, you file that certificate of formation, and hopefully then you receive your certificate of filing. I can't wait for you to hear the next 5 steps that will be presented to you next week by Ebony. If you want to make sure again that you receive notifications of whenever new videos drop, make sure that you subscribe as we will seek to provide new videos every Monday. Don't forget to like and comment below any questions that you may have, and feel free to share this video with any other excited and motivated entrepreneurs. We thank you so much for joining us. See you next time.